My system gets to resolution, conflict resolution, instead of perpetual, I gotta win.
That's
I gotta win.
exactly.
And sometimes the other person ain't gonna let you win and you ain't gonna let them win. And so what does that do? That keeps it going on and on
Yes.
and on. And so that is why you have a coach to facilitate it.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Hey Babe, Can We Talk? With me, your host and bestie, Drea Renee. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is the place for those who just can't seem to get it right when it comes to matters of the heart. And if you're returning, I missed you, and we're going to have a great episode. On today's episode, we have relationship and communication coach with us, Ken Canion, in the house. We're going to be talking about communication and conflict in relationships and why people are avoiding the hard conversation. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like, follow, subscribe, and comment down below, and make sure your notifications are on so you know every time we have a new episode. So without further ado, let's get into it with Ken Canion. So we're just going to jump in.
Sure.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Super excited to have you. Today, we're going to be talking about conflict and communication in relationships and why people need to continue having the hard conversations.
Yeah.
So when we had our briefing call, we talked about, people don't want to have the hard conversations in relationships. They're steering away from it. They're scared of it. Why do you think people are in relationships just holding all these resentments and not having these hard conversations?
What happens is the hard conversations create internal conflict. See, the worst kind of conflict that people have is not external, it's internal. Because what we're wrestling with many times is, all right, the internal, you have something to say, you have something you want to say. All of a sudden, the internal conflict starts where you begin wrestling with yourself. You ever done this where I'm not sure if I should say it because how are they going to react when I say it? Or what are they going to do? What is their response going to be?
Right.
And so what you decide, you go back and forth with this internal conflict, and then you decide it is better if I don't say anything because the alternative is more pleasing to me or less destructive to me than the other option. Because the other option, the reason why it's destructive to people is because it leads to uncertainty. And so the reality is the number one need for people is the need for certainty. And so these conversations create uncertainty. So that's where the conflict is. It starts internally first. And,
Right.
and and it plays out inside your mind long before it comes out.
Exactly. And on this topic of needing certainty, what do you think the difference is in terms of those needs between men and women? Do you think women need it more, men need it less, or do you think
No,
it's the same? Both people need it.
I think what we've done is as a society, we have split genders up and emotional needs the same way we do gender roles. We
Yes.
assume that a man, because a man is a man, he has a gender role, that his emotional needs are different. And that is absolutely not true. There is a book behind me on this on my bookshelf called His Needs, Her Needs. And the author I've read this book 3 times, and the author broke down and explained what the 10 most needs of couples. The only thing different is that in the needs, we have the needs in hierarchy differently than another person.
Okay.
And the hierarchy of needs, but the needs themselves are still the same.
The needs are the same. And I've always felt that way too. I feel that there's a lot of expectations on men in terms of how they're supposed to emote, when they're supposed to emote, who they're supposed to emote to. And at a certain point, I know there are men who feel that they aren't supposed to do that in their relationships. But I'm always like, if my man is upset or having a bad day, I want to be the one that he talks to. I don't want a partner that feels like they can't express themselves with the person that they're with every single day, right?
Right. Well, okay. So now we're gonna get kind of deep.
Yep, let's
Because
get deep, Ken.
do you know why men do that? Well, if I told you that society conditions men not to communicate, to be poor communicators, what would you say? Would you
I
would you push back on me?
Absolutely not. I 100% agree.
A lot of people push back, and then when I break it down, they say, "Oh, okay." So let's go all the way back when a man is a little boy. So when a man is a little boy at, say, 5 years old, and something happens to him emotionally, he begins to cry or he yells or whatever it is. And the first thing that people say is, suck it up.
Suck it
Don't
up.
cry.
Don't
Be
yeah.
a be a big boy. Don't cry. Don't be a chump. Don't be a wussy. Don't be a pussy. Don't be all these things. And so the little boy conditions in his mind that showing emotions is a sign of something not good. It's a sign of weakness. It
Right.
is not, it is not looked upon in society, especially in my world, as a good thing. So what happens, that little boy grows up to be a teenager, or he grows up to be a young adult. And the only emotion he is comfortable showing is anger.
Yes.
Notice that men are the only emotion that they're comfortable showing is anger, because anger isn't looked upon as weakness.
Mm.
It is destructive many times, but destructive is not weakness. So, okay, I can show that. And then that young man grows up to be a teenager, grows up to be a young man, and he grows up to be an older man. And he's never been taught how to process his emotions. Whereas women, on the other hand, they tell you when you're young, share your emotions. What's wrong, baby? Tell your friend, girl, I'm here to listen to it. Cry on my shoulder. And so you've been taught, been conditioned, programmed to share your emotions, whereas men have never been taught how to process emotions.
No, they have not. I think that we're lucky that we're in a generation now where that there's a lot more conversation around it, but there's
Mm,
still a lot of work to be done with men that did grow up this way of hearing these things and hoping that men do feel more called to be sensitive and to open up. But there is a stigma around, especially in our community, around a
sure.
man really expressing himself and saying how he feels. I've had men say to me, I don't want to be looked at as weak. And so I've had to sort of create a space where a man feels safe to do so. So back on the subject of, conflict resolution in relationships,
Mhm,
what are some tools that couples can take on when you are already in that triggered space? Cuz when I'm in a
mhm.
relationship now and we're talking about when we get spicy, what should we do? But then I'm like, what are the steps we can take before we get to that spicy
Why do
spot?
y'all call it spicy?
Because
What?
it's when everybody starts talking over each other and the problem becomes the focus versus staying together and how can we get past this, right?
So the reason I'm an expert at this is because 18 years ago, I almost lost my marriage because we
Mm,
couldn't communicate. We were headed for divorce court. I did a video called How $7 Saved My Marriage. And
$7.
$7 saved my, and the video, and that video went viral. But in essence, what I said was, I said I had just gotten off a reality show in California. I was on the show The Biggest Loser, and I remember when I got back, my wife and I had just been, for the few months I was on the show, we had been beefing. We couldn't communicate. We just, we were headed in the wrong direction. Everything that I said annoyed her. Everything that she said annoyed me. And we never said divorce, but that's where we were headed.
Yeah.
Already contemplated that I married the wrong person. And so I say all that to you because one day we were arguing at our home and we were going back and forth. And I always tell people I've never put my hands on my wife, not once, but the words that I said were just as destructive, just
Mm,
as harmful. And the words she said to me were just as harmful. And so on this particular day, we're going back and forth, because hurt people.
yes, yes.
And so she said out of the clear blue sky, we often talk about this. She said, "Can we go for a ride?" And I was like, I'm pissed at you. I don't want to go for a ride with your
I don't wanna
ass.
get in the car with you.
That's exactly what I said. But I said, okay, let's go for a ride. So we ride down the street, and you know how when you ride and she's looking out her window, I'm looking out my window, and we're not talking. But then she says out of her mouth, "I'm hungry. Can you pull over?" Now, here's the thing. I had just gotten off a reality show and I didn't have any money. I had given up close to $100,000 worth of business in my I was a speaker traveling the world to get my health in order. So I looked in my pocket and I said, I only have $7. So $7. She was like, pull into this Wendy's parking lot. Now, here's the ironic thing about this. I wasn't even eating Wendy's because I lost 100 pounds. I wasn't eating Wendy's, but at that point I really didn't care. So I
Right.
pulled over and I pulled through the drive-through, and they had two double cheeseburger meal deals at $2.99 a piece. So I ordered the meal deal, still wasn't talking. So I get ready to pull through the drive-through, and my wife says, pull over into one of the spaces, parking spaces.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I'm like, for what? She's like, because I want to figure out what's wrong with us. And I smirked like, all right, I'll pull over. I pulled up. And here's what happened. I didn't realize I would learn more about my wife in that moment than all the years that I knew before her. We stayed there 2 hours and 42 minutes. So much so, the
Wow.
people in Wendy's came out twice because they thought,
Is
I
everything
mean,
okay?
I did it. That's exactly what they said. Everything okay? And so we came up with a conflict resolution system that saved our marriage. And what we realized,
Mm,
the first thing I'm going to tell you, Drea, is you come up with a conflict resolution system prior to being in conflict.
mm.
That's the first thing. Because we realized that neither one of us were good communicators. We realized during that time, at that moment, that in her household, when people would get upset, she was told to be quiet. She'd go to her room. She wouldn't talk.
Shut down.
She would shut down. Me, I would get amped up. In my family, we just talk loud. We talk louder. And I was like a bull in the china cabinet. I realized that I was not speaking a language in a way that she could receive me. And so we came up with a conflict resolution system that is simple. When I tell you it was so simple, but that saved our marriage, and I've used it to save the 303 marriages that I've saved.
Well, you gotta share it with us, Ken. What's the solution?
All
What do
right.
you
So
do?
when I tell people, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, right. Okay." So
Okay.
here's how it works. So for us, what we would say is, I said, okay, there there are three rules. Number first rule is we can't talk over each other. Okay.
Oh my God, Ken, it's so hard.
But wait a minute, it's not hard. It's gonna be not forever. Not forever.
Okay.
Here's how it works. We said number two rule is we can only discuss one issue at a time. Only one. Okay. And the third rule was, now this is the kicker. Ooh, and then I'm gonna put it all together for you.
Okay.
Third rule was you can only ask one question. So here's how it goes.
Okay.
Let's say Drea has an issue with Ken. Now Drea can talk about her whole issue, what she's feeling, and Ken can't say one word. She can talk about it for 3 to 5 minutes.
I
Three
love
to five
this.
minutes.
3
And
to
I
5
can't say,
minutes.
now listen, 3 to 5 minutes, I can't say one word. Now here's the kicker though. So Dre wants to unload everything onto Ken, right? So remember I said Ken can only ask one question.
Right.
And here's the one question Dre ain't prepared for. Here's the one question. Because Dre is telling Ken, she's putting it on Ken, I need you to fix this. Whatever it is, I want you to do this. I want to do this. I'm mad about this. I'm upset about this. Whatever it is, you get to say it. Because I always tell, because the whole thing is, whatever you feel is valid.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Whatever. It doesn't
We gotta
mean
take
it
notes.
it doesn't mean that it's right, that it's factual. It means it's valid because you feel it. Notice the difference.
Mm.
Doesn't mean it's based in fact, though. But it does mean it's valid because you feel it. So here's how it works. My wife taught me that one. So she says, so Drea begins to talk. I can only ask Drea one question. Here's the question. Drea, I understand what you're saying. What can I do or what could I have done to make you feel different? The only question. Now, why would I ask that one question? Because now it's no longer on me to solve it. It becomes both of us. Because Drea has to tell me, well, because a lot of times we get in an argument. I used to be in an argument. My wife says, "What can I do?" I was like, "I don't know." And I said, "What?" And she says, "Well, if you help me, tell me what I can do or could have done." And when you
Mm,
do that, then it becomes both of us are solving the problem, not just one person.
right.
And then that's when the dialogue happens. I say, well, I think what could do is not not overtalk me when I'm talking. I say, okay, what does that
Right.
look like? What does that look like? Okay. Then what we do at that point is we began coming up with specific things. That's how we did it. Specific things in our relationship that we would do toward that one thing, the one thing.
The
And
one
then
thing.
and then the other person gets one thing. You see how that
Yeah,
works?
I see how it works. I'm
Ah,
like, "Oh."
you see how the other person that works. So I said my one thing. We go through the process, and now Drea did hers. Now and once it's resolved, once we come up with a conflict resolution system, how we're going to handle that conflict, and both of us said, okay, now it's Ken's turn to do one thing.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
thing. And what happens is you go all the way through and solve the problem. Because have you ever noticed that most times you don't solve the problem? You just argue till you're done. I'm done. You know how people say, I'm done. I'm done.
Well,
I'm good.
yes, because then you get into this circular place, which is something that I notice can really happen when you have people that just are focused on the need to be right versus what are we doing to get back into alignment? And when you're focused and you're questioning and your thought process is around, I'm right, being defensive, you're only going to keep yourselves separate. Because that's I know I've been in that headspace where I need him to understand and to tell me that I'm right. That's all I'm worried about. Versus like, okay, what is the value of what I'm saying? Is this comment bringing us closer or further apart? Is this my ego? Is this my pride? There's a lot of sifting that I have to do through, but your system sounds a lot more simple.
It's so
Yes,
simple
yes,
but my system gets to resolution.
yes.
Conflict resolution instead of perpetual, I gotta win, I gotta win,
That's
I gotta win.
exactly,
And
exactly.
sometimes the other person ain't gonna let you win and you ain't gonna let them win. And so what does that do? That keeps it going on and on and
Yes.
on and on. And so that is why you have a coach to facilitate it. See,
Mm.
most people are. You ever notice how we'll invest in everything else, but we don't invest in our relationships? Because here's the thing, Drea. Think about this: relationships are the only thing that we just expect it to work because we feel a certain way.
And then we expect it to be easy. That was gonna be my
Mm.
next point. You
Oh
talk
yeah,
about yeah, we expect relationships to be easy, and if they're not easy, then we think that we're not compatible, we're not with the right person, etcetera.
right. I have a quote that I say. I said relationships wouldn't be so hard if we didn't expect them to be so easy.
Yes, I wrote that down, and
Yeah.
I had to really think about that because I think even subconsciously, I have assumed that, whoever my partner is, it should just be like, it should be smooth sailing, but relationships are work. I know sometimes people get afraid to say that, but they are work, and you
Why? Why is it
yeah.
why are they afraid? Because you wanna know why? Let me explain it. That was a
They're
rhetorical question.
afraid.
I already knew the answer. The reason why is because relationships are like crack cocaine, okay?
Ooh, okay.
So think about it. So in crack cocaine, that high releases all those feel good endorphins, the dopamine and all the oxytocin, all of that stuff. And yeah, I've never been on drugs, but they say that one of my friends was on drugs. He said, you're always chasing the first high. You always, because you want to
Yes.
feel that again. And so in relationships, what we're always trying to do is get back to the feeling that when they call me, ooh, as my wife always say, ooh, he made your liver quiver. You want to get back to that feeling when every time
The
you stick
liver
it.
quiver. I love that. That's amazing.
So every time, you know how it feels when it feels so good when we're flowing, we're in a
Yes.
moment. We're it's like crack. We want to get back to that. Everything is we want to get rid of this argument so we can get back to the crack.
So we can get back to that, like, lovey-dovey. It's interesting you say that because, yeah, I've been in relationships where it's like, how do we get back to
Yeah,
whatever? What do you think about that? Is there a get back? Or
no,
is there, like, a new version of
no
how you
version. You never go back. You evolve.
Mm,
Is Drea the same person she was 5 years ago? No,
absolutely not, Ken.
absolutely not. You can't go
No.
back to that Drea. You
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
You either we're going to all evolve anyway.
yeah.
You either evolve and grow. That's why I often say that the purpose of a relationship only has two purposes only: to
Ooh,
grow,
okay, okay.
only two, to grow and to heal. That's it. Everything else falls underneath that. We go out to eat. We go out to eat. We have fun together. We do it. That's just a part of growth. Because we get to experience each other, part of growth, or it could be healing a part of me that somebody I didn't think somebody could love me. It's just grow or heal. We buy a house together. That's growth. We have children. Grow. Everything is grow or heal. That's it.
Right. And what do you think are some of these unrealistic expectations that people have for a healthy relationship or what they think it's supposed to look like, especially now with the rise of social media and the ideas around what a woman's supposed to do, what a man is supposed to do. What do you think are like so for the viewers listening? Because I think some people do have, and I know I was in that category too, of just unrealistic expectations of what a partnership is supposed to look like versus when I'm actually in one. Because I have all these ideas as a single lady, right? But then now that I'm in a relationship, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't think I really
Yeah.
understood what this takes."
Right.
Ah,
If you if if you've never seen something, you don't know what it looks like when you see it.
mm.
Okay? If you've never experienced something, you don't know what it feels like until you experience it, right? And so I often say to people is we have created images of what a good relationship is because we see snippets on social media, highlights of people's life. Notice I say highlights. Think about it, Dre. People don't know the raw, ugly side of Drea. They
Oh,
don't know what Drea is like when she get pissed off. They see a version of Drea that is appealing to their senses, right? She's a pretty girl. She's smiling. She's talking. So that appeals to their senses. And so the way the mind works, and I hate to go too deep, but I have to sometimes,
let's go
because people
deep,
don't
Ken.
understand the psychology of it. The mind doesn't operate in words. The mind operates in pictures. Whenever you think about somebody, you ever notice somebody says, "Hey, do you remember such and such? Or do you remember the time we went to such and such?" You know what your mind does? Your mind goes into its subconscious files and it looks for the picture that you
Mm,
remember. Oh, yeah, I remember the picture. And what it does, it attaches emotion to the picture. How did you feel when you were there? How do you feel about Jody? How do you feel about Matthew? Oh, wow. You see the picture? I attach him on. I don't like Matthew. And so what happens is we create images that our mind accepts. So people created these images of what they think a good relationship is. But what they've done is they've juxtaposed a good relationship with a perfect relationship. See, the
mm.
images create a perfect relationship. Allow me to explain this. When I said something the other day, I was in front of, I think I had 100 people in the audience. And then I said to them, I said, there is no perfect person. There is no ideal person. When I say there is no ideal person, now let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you. Do you believe there is an ideal person?
No.
So I said, I always tell people, there is no ideal person for you.
I used to think that previously, I did, but now that I've had more experience in having serious relationships,
Mhm.
no. No, no,
You
no, no,
know
no.
why? Because think about it. The ideal person is a person we've conjured in our mind, right?
In our mind.
And do you notice in your mind The ideal person never comes with trauma. The ideal person, you notice the ideal person communicates in your mind. They never come with trauma. They never come with the past,
God, you're
toxicity.
so
They never
right.
come. Yeah, you ever notice how the ideal person, there is never anything negative attached to them?
Yeah.
Never. Not once. And so in the real world, when we meet the person, because everybody got some kind of trauma, everybody got some kind of insecurity, everybody got some kind of something going on, because we are living in an imperfect world evolving. And so
Yes.
now you think they're not the one because they don't match what's in my head. And because they don't match what's in your head, because you are juxtaposing or comparing it to perfection, because the ideal person doesn't have all of the things that the real life person comes with.
God, you're so right. When I think about the partner of like this vision that I had in my mind, they never have any trauma.
Yeah,
They're just like,
never.
they have all these perfect relationships, a perfect, but not even consciously. I'm like, they had a perfect childhood and
Sure.
they're going to love me perfectly. They're going to be there for me all the time. They don't have any needs. They just want to think
Yeah,
about my needs.
yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
it's like there's a whole other human
yeah.
being on this side, and I think it's important to really highlight this because I really wanna focus on, what the reality is of doing life with another human being, especially as a woman and thinking about a man. I think a lot of times men get pushed aside in terms of, like I said earlier, emoting and, like, having feelings and their own needs,
Mhm.
and I speak from my own experience of just how I was raised and stories I was told of what a man is supposed to do, and it's like, guys, there's a full human there with their own experiences and life traumas, and that they're experiencing the world just as I am, and they need to be taken care of as well, not just in this, like, traditional way, but deeper in terms of their own internal needs.
Absolutely. You just said it. You just said it. But but what you're doing is you're becoming self-aware while your growth, that's evolution and then that's growth too, because
Mhm.
you're becoming more emotionally intelligent and understanding that every single person is wrestling with their own emotions on
Yes.
some level.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
when I can look at you in your perspective, the reason I've been so great at God has given me this gift. What I do, and from any other coach, the reason why I'm so good at it is because God has given me the gift to do one thing, not tell you you're right or not tell you he's wrong or he's right. Four words I never use in my practice. I never use something is good or bad,
Mm,
something is right or wrong. I never use those four words. I only use two words. Is it working or not working? Okay. That's it. Only two. Because what's right for you might be wrong for me. What's good for you might be.
right.
Yeah. And so get this. My whole objective is when we get in a set, especially men, until they get in with me, they be like, damn, they be coming in like this dude gonna jump on her side. And when they realize,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
and then they realize they like the men that our coach love me. Because they be like, Coach gonna give it to me straight, he gonna give it her
Yes.
straight. And so what I do, I only do one thing the first session is help you see the world from the other person's perspective. That is
Yeah.
all. If my whole objective the first session is to show the one other person, is it possible that this person thinks this way because that their world was this? And so all of a sudden, the other person should say, wow, I never thought about it like that. I know I got them there. And that's how I work.
Yes,
Because
because yeah, oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go no, go ahead.
Because it that is such an evolved space, and in
I
this
agree.
current relationship that I'm in, really doing that in a way where I can, like I said earlier, put my stuff down and that
Mhm.
ego and that pride in response to us getting back in alignment. How much do I want us back in alignment? Like, how important is that to me? Because that's how I navigate the relationship. And then navigating your own triggers, your own fears, and then looking at your partner also as a mirror. That was something else I wanted to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
the person that you're with, like, I have a hard time with that, Ken, because I was with a jerk for like 4 years. And I remember I used to say to my mom, I'm like, am I an unavailable asshole? because like this is what I'm with. And my mom was like, "You're not available, actually. You think you are." But and then
Right.
I realized in that relationship, I was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But to show up to a person and be fully available to
Yeah.
allowing that person to like potentially hurt you, because that's the risk you take when you
Sure.
decide to be in love with someone,
Sure.
it's really hard. So saying to the other person, I'm going to see how this person is processing the information that I'm saying, it
Uh,
is not an easy thing to do. It is
no,
not, because
it's
you have
not.
to put yourself down. Like, how do you do that?
You, it's just like anything else. As anything else you do, it's a habit. You develop a
Mm,
habit.
I love that. Yeah.
I often tell people, you don't get rid of a habit. Don't ever believe you get rid of a habit. You don't get rid of a habit. This is the that book up there, The Power of
Yeah.
Habit. You don't get rid of a habit. You replace a habit with another habit. So I always tell
Okay.
people, think about it. When a person says, I got rid of the habit of eating bad. No, you just replaced it with eating good.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because the mind doesn't operate in a vacuum. It has to be replaced. So I always tell people, so don't think you gotta get rid of something. All we do is add something.
Add something. Right. Right.
Right. And so and so I understand how the brain works and all of that. And so for me, I just tell people, look, it's an evolved space. The
Yeah.
only prerequisite is want to. I can
It
show you how to do it is desire.
Exactly, the willingness. Another
Willing.
quote you said during our call that I wanted to touch on, that's coming up right now is, "Disagreements are inevitable, but arguments are optional." And I really
Mhm.
want to dig into that, because how do you stay regulated, right? Like you said, it's a habit and something you have to continue working on, but like I said earlier, that those moments where you're already in that conflict spicy spot and trying to get back to regulating yourself to like not raising your voice and not talking over them.
Mhm.
How do you stay regulated in those moments, when it was just too crazy already?
I don't stay regulated.
Okay.
What I do is realize that my trigger or whatever it is a pattern.
Okay.
A pattern is nothing more than a habit of thought. Okay. So the first thing that I get people to do is understand is get to the root of why do I get triggered? Because most of us never deal with why. Most most of us never deal with why is it that you
Why
can
are you
say
getting triggered?
why
Okay.
why is it that you say this? Because every trigger is attached to a belief.
Mhm.
I need you to hear what I just said. Every trigger is attached to a
To a
belief.
belief. Okay.
The reason why you got triggered is because you believe something about what they said. You believe something about
Yes.
it.
Yes. Oh my
Right.
god. Yes. Ugh.
Okay.
Yeah.
You believe something about what they did. There is a
Yes.
meaning that you attach to it. And when you attach this meaning, that is what triggered you. It is not what the person said, it is the meaning you attach to it. Because think about it. The two people can say the same thing to you. One person can say, well, I don't give a shit what they say.
Right.
And then the other person says it. All of a sudden, you get upset. Why? Same thing. Because it's the meaning you attach to when they said it.
Right.
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 And so what we do is I help people understand what is the meaning I'm attaching to it. Why am I upset? And so me and my wife, so I used to get upset about certain things, and but it wasn't until I started telling her why. What me first exploring why. Well, I get upset when you say this because it makes me seem like I would never say feel because I wouldn't
Uh,
get in touch with processing my emotions. I would always say it makes it seem like I'm not doing my job. It makes it seem
right.
like I never said I felt inadequate when you said it.
The framing of these comments are so important, how that just shifted the whole thing,
Yeah,
right? Versus
yeah,
it seems versus I'm inadequate, you know?
right.
And these are the things that, like, if you're really wanting to have your relationship work, being conscious of these things, it can be difficult at times, and I always say, sometimes I feel like a lot of people in the world are walking around asleep, like, they're not really conscious of why they're doing things, like, the work that we
No,
do and that the conversations we're having, not everybody's having these conversations. These are things that people have to tap into and really think about, especially when you're in conflict with your partner. I think people get really comfortable with dysfunction and being
yeah,
uncomfortable. "Oh, he just yells, I just slammed the door, we just don't talk for a couple days, and then we come back," and nothing's actually ever resolved. We
ever
just keep
resolved.
stacking and stacking and stacking. So I think this work is so important to do, and if you find a partner that is interested in this work, I think it really does change how you not only see the relationship, but how you see all of your relationships and how you're
Yeah,
showing up,
yeah, and
right?
but the first part is we cannot rely on somebody else to show up to solve the problem. We've got to
Right.
say, "I'm gonna show up first. I'm going to do this first." I mean, because a lot of us wait. "Well, they ain't doing it. Oh, I ain't gonna do nothing either."
Oh, the standoff. I know all
Yeah,
about the standoff. I'm like, "Okay, well, as soon as you well, I'm not," and I'm like, "Oh my god, what am I doing? This is
and
not."
then the relationships. Here's what happens with the standoff. I like the way you worded that. What happens with the standoff is when we don't do anything, we begin to grow apart. We begin to get disconnected.
Yeah.
See, disconnection in a relationship is not always I said something to you that pissed you off and you walked away. Disconnection is inaction. Disconnection is centered around inaction, not doing anything. Because I want to give you an example of this. If you were to leave your home, leave your car, and go somewhere for 5 years, when you got back, your car would probably be falling apart.
Exactly. No maintenance
Why?
to it, yeah.
Doing nothing. Doing nothing. The elements, by virtue of just the elements, the engine would crank. By doing nothing, it would deteriorate. Home, deteriorate. Everything would deteriorate because you're doing nothing. This is the
Because you're
same way
doing nothing.
relationships do. Because when you don't do anything, when you do the standoff, you do nothing, it deteriorates. So you get disconnected, and soon you're gonna be like, I don't want to be this anymore.
Right. And you're just sitting there waiting for the other person to show up in the way that you wanna show up, and usually what ends up happening is that you're in this standoff, and then somebody is like, "Alright, that's enough. Like, we need
Right.
to, move forward," and hopefully, it doesn't get to that spot, but do you think there is a place in relationships where these sort of moments, they're just inevitable that they're gonna happen if you're with someone long enough, and you
Yeah.
just gotta work through them, right?
No,
Like, they're just
absolutely. Yeah.
yes.
Yes. I think it's inevitable. I mean, think about it. Even your best friend, y'all have had an argument, or not
Yes.
argument, a disagreement. It's inevitable because people have different points of view, but most
People
people don't want to
yes.
work through it.
No, they don't, and what I another topic I wanted to touch on is people get really afraid of conflict, but it really does build intimacy
It
with
does.
the person, right? And so I wanna say that again for the people listening, it's like conflict builds intimacy. So those relationships where we don't really go deep, because I always say I'm not really with a person until we've had a disagreement. I don't know who
I
I'm
agree.
dating until
I agree.
we how do you show up when we do not get along? That is who I'm with, and that is really important to me moving forward with someone. What tactics do you use? What language do you use? You know what I'm saying? That's where you
Yeah.
really know. And in friendships too, because sometimes it takes like, I've had a friend for almost 20 years, and I think we just had our first, like, real breakdown a year ago. And
Wow.
I was like, "Oh, wow." Like, we've had
Wow.
little things where I'm like, "Girl, we are not on the same page," but not something where we both were standing firm, and I'm like, "Oh, wow, we're having, like, a moment right now," you know? I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not backing down on this, and you're not, we just gonna have to agree to disagree," you know? But it
Yeah.
took us a while to get there, and I was like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know this side of her," only through
Right.
other people, but not through me.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. The number one way I know that a relationship will last or not is the way
Ooh,
people navigate conflict. It's the number
thank
one way.
you. That is the number one way.
Yeah,
I
because
couldn't agree more.
emotions go up and down, the oxytocin. One day you're gonna feel in love, the next day you're not gonna feel in love. But what happens is that's we go through that. That's hormones. But the truth is, I always tell people love is not based on a feeling, it's based on commitment. Am I committed to this person, whether I like you today or not? You know?
I am living that so vividly right now.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. It's a choice.
That
And
is.
really being able to show up to someone, like you said, despite the ups and downs of your own individual emotions around your own external conflicts and things that come at you at work with your whatever your career and still wanting to show up to this person. And another thing I want to talk to you about, Ken, is, you know, before I got in this current relationship and I was dating and online dating and trying to meet people, what I find is, and I want to ask you your thoughts on this, people are a lot more in the mindset of disposing nowadays. People don't
Yes.
want to do the work. You send a wrong text or don't call back and everyone's like, "Oh, I'm done. I blocked him. I'm moving on." Like, what do
Yeah.
you think about that? And where are we going? Like, why is everyone so quick to just say, "Oh, I'm out. I'm not doing it."
More than likely, they will continue doing this the rest of their life
Mm, okay.
because it has become habitual. And so we live in an environment where people are disposal. But because what did I tell you? The ideal person in your mind doesn't come with communication issues. They don't send the wrong text. They don't, because so what we're doing is we keep moving on to the next person thinking, oh, it's somebody better out there. My person, yeah, I hear this all the time. My person is out there. Okay, you just left your person. You just left your person. But the reason why the person in your mind is not out there. They're not. Because
Mm, hot take.
that person doesn't come with trauma, problems, toxicity, insecurity. They don't come with it in your mind. But in real life, they might send a wrong text. But you, instead of you saying, hey, here's what I felt about that text. Is that what you meant?
Mm.
Instead of saying that, we would rather say they didn't communicate perfect every single time. I'm done.
Right. Do you think in the beginning it's still important to give those kinds of concessions for a man or a woman dating right now, right? So, like when I was on the apps, I will say there were people that sent me messages that I found extremely inappropriate. So, in a situation like that,
Okay.
do you think that you could say, "Hey, this is how this text landed with me. Is this what you meant?" Or do you think,
Absolutely. But
"Okay,
you're not doing it for the other person. You're doing it for you. Think about
mm,
it. Because then you become a better communicator. You become Now you become a better conflict resolver. Because what you're doing is you're communicating what you feel. Here's what I feel. Here's what I read. Here's how I interpreted it. Here's what I felt. Is that what you meant? Now I'm becoming better in relationships. For for when I do find a person worthy of staying, even if they
mm,
do something wrong, I'm going to communicate better. I'm
right,
going to resolve conflict better.
right." Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. Because I'm real quick to be like,
Oh,
"Next."
you're not alone.
I'm
You're
not.
not alone because we're looking for the perfect person.
I will say I have some deal breakers, though. If you get sexual real quick,
No,
I'm not
I'm
giving
okay
any
with the deal
concessions for that.
breaker.
I'm
I'm
like,
okay with deal breakers. I'm okay
"Yes."
with deal breakers, but it can't be 100 deal breakers.
No, it cannot be 100 deal breakers. I used to have about 20, and I was like, "All right, this isn't gonna work." But I say things are like a pie chart. So if you're and I wanna ask your opinion on percent-wise, right? So I asked my friend, she's been married for 11 years, on a pie chart, 80-20, 90-10, 70-30. How much are we at 10 years, like still in love with our partner? Do we like our partner? How are we functioning? What percent like can you move forward with someone on a regular basis? Tell me.
I'm
She
glad
said
you asked
eighty
this
twenty.
question.
What?
I'm about to break something down in a way that some people ain't gonna even be able to grasp this.
Okay.
So there's a study in psychology that says that human beings evolve every 5 to 7 years. We become a new person.
Mhm.
We evolve our thoughts, we've evolved in our beliefs. We evolved. And you know that every day that we lose sales or gain sales, we're evolving. And so here's what happens. When you're in a relationship and you get disconnected, both of you are evolving. You're evolving in 5 to 7 years. You're not going to be the same people that got married 7 years ago. The question I tell people, me and my wife have been together. We've been married 24 years. We've been together close to 30. And I said, every evolution of my wife I've fallen in love with.
Mm, really?
Every evolution. And there were things about the evolution I didn't like, but every evolution I fallen in love. See, what love is commitment. I'm committed to all the evolutions to be better for us to grow together. What happens to people is when somebody evolves, they say, you different, but they never evolve together. And then that's why that people can get together and they ain't touched each other in 10 years.
Oof. Oof. No good. What do you say to couples right now listening? There's someone listening and they are at odds with their partner, but they want to rebuild, but they feel like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. It's the last straw. What steps will you say to this couple that they need to take to start this rebuilding process to get back into alignment? What do they
Hire,
do?
hire Coach Ken.
Hire Coach Ken. There
No,
you
I'm
go,
serious.
guys.
I'm
Yeah.
serious. So here's why. Think about it like this. If you have never been to a place and you don't know how to get there,
So true.
don't you need a guide?
Right.
Think about it like this. When you started this podcast, I'm sure you didn't know what to do. There were
Not a
things that,
clue. Not a
but you
clue.
went out and found someone who could help you. Maybe
Yes.
they want because somebody guided you through the process of me being on your podcast today to get the right software, to get the right equipment, to get the right everything, to break down my show. All of that, somebody guided you to it. You didn't just come download it with a
No.
roadmap of knowing how to do it. Why is it again? I go back to relationships. Why is it again that in relationships we don't want a guy?
And you absolutely need one because this is the person you're with every single day. Why
Yeah,
not invest in your relationship? Because you're right. If you don't know, you don't have the experience, you don't have the tools, they're not just going to
yeah,
magically come to you one day. And then
no,
you also can't hear things from your partner that, like you said earlier, two people can say the same things. Maybe you give information to someone, but then your partner gives it to you and you can't hear it.
right, and that's it.
And that's it. Hire Coach Ken. Ken, thank you so much for being on the show. You have been amazing. I always ask my guests this. Is there anything you want to leave my listeners with? A little nugget from Ken.
I'm gonna leave you with one thing, y'all, that you can have anything you want in this world. Listen to me carefully. You just can't have everything you want. I'm gonna
Mm,
let y'all sit with that one. You can have a great relationship, but you can't have a great relationship and not do anything. See, you have to choose what it is you desire. Everybody's got to make a choice. Everybody. We all have to choose.
we all
I'm,
have
I'm,
to choose.
I'm going to leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Ken, for being here. I definitely want to bring you back for part two. You've been
I,
amazing. Thank
I
you.
would love to, would love to, love to. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right, guys, as always, don't forget this is the place for the Hot Mess Expresses and the Black Sheeps of Love. Until next time, I'm Drea Renee, and this is Hey Babe, Can We Talk?